Mr. Chairman, yes, and I would be remiss if we're having a tax discussion not to point out that as a town, we pay the state about $45 million in taxes, and then we receive about $15 million back in local aid. So we are at about a $30 million deficit in terms of what we provide to the state and what we get back in local aid for the town and for the schools. And if there's a way to increase local aid with the record revenues that are coming in from the state, that will certainly help out our residents when we start to look at issues regarding to our budget.
Okay, any other comments, questions? All right, so the first question, I'll take this in the order that we are asked to take votes. And obviously the first question, for many years we have actually adopted a rate split. So I won't necessarily ask that question in the form of seeking a motion, but if we are going to enact or follow through on a rate split again in fiscal 2015, what I would ask my colleagues to offer, one of them to offer would be a motion relative to the minimum residential factor, not the split itself. I think you all have the information, but it's a multi-numbered decimal for your consideration. We need to be very specific relative to that motion.
So I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, recommending a shift at the 1.5 with the minimum residential factor of 0.888903. And I mean, could that number change at all? Could that factor change, or that's lost? So I'd like to make a motion that we continue with our shift and with those numbers that we just stated.
So the motion made to follow with a rate shift and with the adoption of the minimum residential factor of 0.888903. Is there a second to that motion?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Mr. Gay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair will vote aye as well. And then from that point, we are asked to decide whether to allow a residential exemption, and just for purposes of refresher, this is not something that the town has adopted, at least in any number of years. So do we need to take a negative vote, or if we are silent on that, is it sufficient? Okay, so I'm going to ask if there's I'll ask if there's a motion to allow a residential exemption, and if I hear none, we'll move to the next question. Okay, I hear no motions, so we'll move forward to question 3, similar fashion, whether to allow a small commercial exemption, and I'll ask if there's a motion to that effect. And silence will mean the status quo. I hear nothing. Lastly, I'll ask if there's any motion by my colleagues to allow a discount of up to 25% for property classified as open space. And again, I hear no motion indicating that the board is satisfied with our current status in that area. Okay, so the only last comment I want to make is we went to 1.5 in this discussion, and in the past we've had options to go well above that in a split, like up to 1.75, and some communities have done that. The landscape has changed, but I think it's important to note that while we're going to 1.50, the 3 or 4 years ago, the maximum allowed would have been substantially higher, and it's come back down and it's been suppressed a little bit. So from my vantage point, if we were looking at this 3 or 4 years ago, we'd still be acting in a way that there was more room to swing. And because the landscape has changed in the state, we're up against that ceiling, but as it relates to the consistency of our tax rate year over year here in Tewksbury, it seems to be consistent. So I think that's an important note, because some folks in the past have argued to go to the far extreme. And while we're doing that academically here in this exercise, that perspective was much further than what we would be faced with today, looking at the potential stimulus that we're able to offer. So, do you need anything specifically from us relative to executing this document?
I do at the end of the meeting, or at some point, I just need everyone's signature on the form.
Can we do that now, and then she can...
Absolutely. Let's do that. So thank you very much for your time and your input and comments.
She's done a heck of a job.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our next item, but I'm going to ask the flexibility of my colleagues to call an issue out of order. Under the town manager's section, item number 10, bond issue, I'd like to invite our guests who are present here this evening to join us. Mr. Rao, our investment advisor, and Treasurer Collector Kelly Odoms, and I believe the town manager participated in this discussion, but we have some information and some action to take relative to a bond issue, so I'd like to move that to everyone's attention. Welcome you again, sir. Thank you for joining us. Kelly, thank you. Karen, yes, again? Makes sense.
Exciting week this week.
Thank you. It's all right. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
So, why don't you explain to my colleagues and those who are watching or may watch this, what brings you before us this evening? You want to have some comments?
Just a couple of things. Over the past several months, we've been working on a long-term bond issue for municipal general obligation bonds that we've had outstanding. We've had $4.6 million for the town hall, $1.4 million for the installation of water mains, and hope is the final borrowing for the high school construction project to complete the final payments on that project. We also had a refunding of sewer debt in the amount of $5,240,000, and the refunding of water debt was around $1,505,000. The total issuance today was $15,745,000. That's Clark Rowell, our financial advisor at Green Bank, received bids on this afternoon, I think it's 12 noon. Process has involved a lot of work on the part of the finance director and the treasurer collector gathering financial information for the town, so financial institutions can give a proper bid on the bonds that were issued today. One of the items that took place over the last month, I think the chairman spoke to at the last board meeting, was a bond rating review of the town by Standard & Poor's. It was our hope from a financial management team and staff that we would receive a bond rating increase. Standard & Poor's reviewed the town this year. Unfortunately, that did not happen, but we did receive a positive outlook from Standard & Poor's that we're happy about, we're encouraged about. We would like to see the bond rating increase. I won't lie to you, there's a little bit of disappointment on my part, especially that we deserved it. But in their report that they gave the town, I just want to state a couple of things. Their positive rating outlook for the town, which is really the step before you're going to get a bond increase, I think the next time around, cites a very strong economy in the Boston, Cambridge, Newton, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire area, strong management conditions, what they considered good financial policies and practices based on financial management assessment methodology. And that goes to what this board has adopted for financial policies, what town meeting has done over the past couple of years, and the way they spent money, saved money, addressed financial matters in the town. They cited a strong budgetary flexibility based upon what is considered a good available fund balance. And again, that goes to the strong management of the financial team, the work that the Selectmen Finance Committee and town meeting has done. They also cited strong budgetary performance with a history of positive general fund results, which again is a reflection of how work departments have done when they put their budgets together and spend money. Standard & Poor's also cited a very strong liquidity, providing very strong cash levels to cover both debt and expenditures, which again goes to the point that we are prepared for any type of financial problem that could face us in the future. And then finally, they cited a weak debt and contingent liabilities position, which includes overall net debt at less than 3% of market value. But they also cited a large pension and post-employment benefits obligations. That's our OPEB and pension liabilities. Even though we're addressing our pension liabilities by paying the unfunded liabilities in Middlesex retirement, the one thing that stuck out to them was the need to have a solid, consistent plan addressing OPEB, which is $166 million unfunded liability. Even though we've addressed it the last couple of years, we wanted to see more consistency. They hope that we address it more than $350,000 that we funded, but they still cite a positive outlook and finances of the town. So I think that was important to note as Clark gives an overview of what transpired today. So I think we're moving in the right direction. We received an upgrade in the last year, which was a positive sign for us. When we go out to borrow long-term again in the next year, we hope to see an upgrade to AA+. But I think this report that we received from them is an indication that the things we are doing, when I say we, I mean all the elected officials, appointed officials, staff, financial management team, department heads, we're moving in the right direction, doing the right things, that financial institutions, the financial rating agencies are looking positively at what we're doing. So I think that's a good indication. So with that, I'm going to turn it over back to you, Clark, to talk about what happened today.
Okay, thank you. Well, in a very brief nutshell, you did very well today. It's always good to start there. And actually, just to follow up what Richard said about the rating, you've also done very well over the last bunch of years, and that was the recognition of the rating agencies. Today, we took bids at noon on the bonds. Just as a little bit of background, we distributed, it was called the preliminary official statement on October 23rd, a little more than a week ago. That's an invitation to the whole investment world to bid on the bonds if they'd like to. Today at noon, we had those bids. We received 6 bids, and the winning bid came from Morgan Stanley. And it was a very, what I call a very aggressive bid. The winning PIC true interest cost is approximately 2.49%. And I say it was a very solid, very aggressive bid because the next 4 bids were all in the 260s, which means for whatever reason, Morgan Stanley thought the market was good, like your bonds or whatever, and you really don't care. They bid aggressively, you can enjoy the benefit of it. And the 6th bidder was at 275. They were a little less hungry. We, as Richard mentioned, about actually $9 billion of the bonds was for the ongoing capital projects, and the balance was for the refundings. With reference to, and let me just follow up with what you said on the rating. The positive outlook is a very nice thing to hear, and I agree. We all are hoping for the AA+. Remembering that you only went up to AA a year ago, it was, it would be another upgrade, but that's okay. We were hoping for the AA with a positive outlook. Basically, the rating agencies, when they put an outlook on an issue, expect to make a rating adjustment within 12 to 18 months. So, assuming everything goes as currently going, I think the expectation is correct at this time. Whenever you do your next issue, we'll even go after that upgrade a little more aggressively and hopefully get it. The refunding went quite well. It's been a very attractive market, and you folks caught it quite nicely on the sewerage piece, where there were $5.2 million of refunding principal issued. Refunding approximately $5.8 million of bonds. There is about $944,000 of budgetary savings. That's a healthy amount. I won't go through the typical measures. People like me in the market, we look at present value measures, but even those are very, very strong. In the industry, people would look at these results and say, home run, you did well. The water piece was a lot smaller. There's about $191,000 of budgetary savings there. But again, the present value savings were very solid, very good results. So I think you can be very pleased at what the results were. Other than going on to actually taking your votes, I'm not sure if there are any questions you have or anything you'd like to add, Aaron or Kelly?
So let me just offer a couple comments. If I heard you correctly, that's a savings to our community of a little bit over $1 million.
Between the two of them, a little over $1.1 million of budgetary savings.
So
Over the life of the loan.
Yes.
yeah, correct. But again, and the large portion of that pertains to our sewer debt.
That's right.
We've wrestled and struggled with as a community and as a board and town meeting for a number of years. So it's not something that should go unnoticed, that $944,000 of a restructure, if you will, is benefiting our community, and that presumably over the long haul will begin to have a positive impact on our rate structure within the enterprise fund. So that is absolutely something that is noteworthy. And I just want to echo, because I had the privilege of being in the room when our finance team spoke to, us from Standard & Poor's, and I mentioned this at our last meeting, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but these fine folks are with us in the room tonight, and we didn't have the benefit of having any members of the press with us last time, so I want to make this comment again. The level of professionalism and preparedness was exceptional by our team, something to be proud of. I appreciated the good work, and it was very clear that we, and just to rebut the town manager's comment about being disappointed, having a AA bond rating is, to my knowledge, a high watermark for Tewksbury. So it's not, at least in the water era, let's call it that. We've made steady progress. While it is disappointing because we wanted to achieve even greater positive results for our community, I don't see it as a negative. We moved the ball further up the field. We got a positive outlook. And as you just heard Mr. Rowell indicate, if we continue as a community to tend to our efforts here and remain consistent and disciplined, then we've essentially set this up to achieve a higher bond rating as we go forward. And that's very positive because the results that you just heard relative to savings will only improve over time if we continue to improve the financial picture of the community. So as we embark on, potential schools and fire stations and DPW improvements and other infrastructure improvements, as we move forward, that's all very, very positive for our community. We have to take up a lot of issues and discussions at this table. And this one, in